for the Lafayette public input meeting.
Yep.
We want to share with you that there's a reason why this week is being called. It is being called to share with you specifically the results or that the fact that an AMP feasibility study is in progress now at the Lafayette Processing and Distribution Center. I say to you that there are no decisions that have been made at this time, but you will hear from executives that they will talk about the importance of this particular AMP feasibility study. I also say to you that because we are in a public forum, we want to exercise a level of professional decorum, and we also want you as the attendees to understand that to my left is a microphone, so that when the Q&A session begins, you may ask a question, and we ask that you keep your questions to 2 minutes. My name is McKinney Boyd. I am the Communications Program Specialist for the Louisiana District, and I say to you, thank you again for coming out. I recognize from Senator Bittner's office, Mr. Tommy Hebert. Thank you, Mark, for coming out. Come on, you can do better there. Let's give Mark the president of the AEW, Mr. Ted Patterson and company. Ted, please stand. And from the Male Families Organization, the president, Mr. Steve Taylor. Steve. And one of our major mailers have come with us to join us, Mr. Remy and Kathy Deloach. Please come in and have a seat, please. Roy Bootway, please stand from area now. Do we have any other dignitaries in the audience that I have failed to acknowledge at this time? I'm sorry. Stephanie, thank you for joining us. There was a voice to my left. Sonia Henry. Thank you, Sonia, for joining us.
And I like to say, I know we have one of our real big mailers, Mr. Durrell.
Right here.
Mr. Durrell, thank you for joining us, sir. Do we have any others? I do not want to. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any others? Please come in and have a seat before we begin. Keep in mind one number as you hear from representatives of the Postal Service today. The U.S. Postal Service is losing $23 million a day. Every day that we wait, the following day we've lost $23 million. So there's a purpose for this kind of feasibility study. And I say to you that this study is not just occurring in Lafayette, it's occurring in 250 sites all across the nation. A total of 400 feasibility studies will be conducted between now and the next 2 years. $23 million a day is a lot of money. The Postal Service has a responsibility to ensure that it continues to provide universal service, and that's what it's doing, it's to provide universal service. Please welcome your district manager of the Louisiana District, to my far, immediate right, Mr. Jeff Taylor. Seated next to Mr. Taylor is the acting senior plant manager, Mr. Gilbert Romero. And with that, we'll pass Mr. Taylor to address the audience.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to also thank you for coming out tonight. And I hope we are able to accomplish a couple of things this evening. First of all, I want to go over some specific information about the condition of the Postal Service. Kenny Boyd just referenced the figure of $23 million a day in losses as we continue forward. And I want to expand upon that and share with you some specific information as to why we find ourselves in that position. Also, tonight, we want to talk a little bit about this study too, and what does the study entail, and what are the possibilities of the study. And then we want to provide some opportunity for questions and answers. Some of the answers I probably will not know the answer to. Mostly I want to hear from the community. That's why we're here. The employees of the Postal Service, for those of you who are employees, if you're an employee of the Lafayette area, postal employee, would you please stand for me? Okay, thank you very much. For those of you who are employees, I want to let you know that we are also doing some meetings. Postings went up, should have gone up at least by today. And we will have postal personnel on hand at your facility there in Lafayette on Moss on Wednesday to discuss particular information about the contracts and about the moves and how that would work should this facility undergo this consolidation or closing. And so we're going to provide more information for you guys at those meetings. But I want to start off by letting you know that I think a lot of people do not realize the magnitude of the economic impact of the Postal Service. And it's not just really the Postal Service either, but I'm talking about the entire mailing industry, from printing and mailing, transportation, and so on. This is about $1 trillion industry nationwide. It's a massive industry. We're talking about around 7% of the gross domestic product of the United States in the industry. And so when the Postal Service is in crisis, it's a pretty good picture of the economy as well. If the Postal Service were to be a private sector company, we would rank 29th in the 2010 Fortune 500. So it's a very large organization. We definitely realize that we play a vital role in the commerce of this country. We are a service organization, yes, but we are also a business. And we need revenue to provide service. We do not accept or receive tax dollars, and our budgets and revenues come from the sale of postage and similar products. The reason for the crisis has been coming on for some time. In all but 2 of the last 15 quarters, we have seen volumes continue to erode. A lot of the problems from the volume is in our first class arena. It's really our bread and butter product. It really hurts us because it's the first class mail that actually pays the bills. While standard came back some standard volume, our first class volume didn't really recover from the worst part of the recession in 2009. Our single piece first class mail volume is down 30% over the past 4 years. And over the last 10 years, it's 10%, 50% over the last 10 years. That's 20 billion pieces of mail. Online bill payment and bill presentation is the main reason for the decline. Back in 2000, around 5% of people paid their bills online, only about 5%. Now today, that's 55%. And bill presentment, the way companies present their bills, has also grown exponentially. Our standard mail provides about 8 cents per piece toward the bottom line cost of the Postal Service, where first class mail provides about 18 cents. So it takes about 3 letters, standard letters, to make up the difference of the rate that we get back, the contribution we call it, to our bottom line. We are trying to grow standard mail, and we have seen some success there, albeit limited, and the volume projections in the out years do not show substantial growth in our estimations for standard mail. First class mail, we expect to continue to erode. In 2006, 98 billion pieces of first class mail is what we received. By the year 2020, we expect that amount to drop to 39 billion pieces. So you see the problem that this presents for us. In 2010, first class mail contributed about $17 billion towards the bottom line cost of the Postal Service. And contribution-wise, standard mail, $6 billion. So you can see as the first class mail has continued to erode, it's almost like losing our best customer. The financial situation is indeed at a crisis point. For the last 5 years, mail volume has declined by 43 billion pieces. Customer visits to our lobbies have declined by 200 million visits. And revenue transaction at the window have declined by $2 billion. Revenue has dramatically decreased. Given these circumstances, the Postal Service has had to take some aggressive action to reduce costs. We have been driving down work hour usage for some time. Through work hour productivity improvements and distribution compression efforts, we've reduced work hours by 311 million hours in the past 5 years. We've had a national distribution center realignment process, and we've consolidated outgoing operations in these from 21 facilities, they're large facilities, to 11 facilities, in order to better utilize the available facility space that we have and merge operations together. Facility optimization is another piece of this of these work hour savings that we've done. And we've been consolidating operations through our area mail processing centers like this and through other work initiatives. We've been restructuring by more than 124,000 positions. We're proud of the fact that in addition to realizing these savings, our service continues to achieve record highs as reported by independent sources such as IBM. Even as our volumes drop 20%, we continue to maintain a 6-day-a-week service. Efficiency and optimization efforts have indeed enabled us to reduce work hours. Through these efforts, we have realized cost savings of more than $1 billion every year since 2001. $6 billion in 2009, $3 billion in 2010, and $1.6 billion in 2011 just closed. While these efforts have made the Postal Service leaner and more efficient, we must continue to go after every opportunity available to us. For the purposes of this meeting in Lafayette and this study process,
Since 1970, really, the Postal Service has been in a growth or an expansion capacity. And that lasted until about 2006. Since 2006, as you can tell from the data I've just shared with you, we have been reducing and consolidating excess capacities. In 2013, based on these studies, I told you we had 673 facilities in 2006. By 2013, we expect to have less than 200. Currently, mail processing sites, we have 487 of them across the states, in the United States. We're studying 252 facilities for potential consolidation. It is indeed a nationwide effort, and 252 facilities are under study. In our current operation, I'm going to try to describe how this works a little bit so you can understand what we're talking about when we start talking about study and how this study works. Right now, our machines that process our volume, they run in the evening time. Many of the employees that you see that stood up earlier work in what we call off-tour. They work at night and in the early morning. The mail that you send as a community is trucked from the postal facility or the postal box that you drop it into, and it's brought to Lafayette. And beginning in the neighborhood of 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, they begin to process that volume that's going to be going, what I call, out to the world. It's originating in Lafayette and the surrounding areas of Lafayette, Lake Charles, and it goes to the rest of the world. And we process that volume, we call that outgoing. So that goes out around midnight, give or take. We start turning those machines over and processing mail coming in to Lafayette from the world on those same machines. But those machines stand idle from about 7 or 8 in the morning, depending on how much mail volume we have. They stand idle from that time until we crank them back up again in the evening. So we lose all that processing capacity during that day. That's how our resources work. So all those machines standing idle stand as opportunity for us if we could figure a way to get those machines processing mail during the daytime and running more volume. Well, obviously, if we do that, we have to make some systemic changes in how we process mail. And so that's the purpose of the study, to increase the utilization of those machines that are standing idle. Obviously, when you do that, that mail has to come from somewhere. And it comes from the mail that's located in other facilities. We've already been doing some of this, as you know, in this area. We've already brought mail in to be processed in Lafayette that used to be run in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We've done it across the state in other places in Louisiana. We've taken mail out of Houma and moved that mail volume into New Orleans plant in order to better utilize the equipment there. We've taken mail out of Monroe, Louisiana, out of Alexandria, Louisiana, and moved that mail into Shreveport, Louisiana. We've also taken mail volume out of Texarkana, and we've moved that volume also into Shreveport. So this is an ongoing effort that has been underway for some time already in the state of Louisiana. The future network that we're talking about at this point, all those changes really didn't result in any change in a network. We used existing network transportation to meet the needs there. We did add some transportation and so on, but we saved a great deal of money in the process. The future network that we're talking about here in Lafayette is moving to a 2- and 3-day service network. Currently, mail delivered, dropped in Lafayette, is delivered overnight in Lafayette. That would change. That would go to a 2-day service commitment. So that is a change. Entry times would be revised. Equipment, the number of pieces of equipment would be reduced. And we would overall reduce the footprint, if you will, of the plant. The benefits to this effort to drive more efficiency is to eliminate the excess capacity that we have, to meet a more efficient transportation network, to better fully utilize our workforce, and to generate a great deal of savings. Changes for customers. Planning for new mail processing footprint and the pattern for it, and transitioning to a 2- and 3-day service standard. For employees, we currently have 559,000 employees nationally. 151,000 of those employees work in mail processing. We're looking at up to 35,000 fewer mail processing positions. This specific area mail processing study Lafayette is located 62 miles from Baton Rouge. In this case, the study was initiated to evaluate the mail processing operations from Lafayette into the Baton Rouge Processing and Distribution Center. The initial results of the study support the business case for consideration. The study currently is reviewed at USPS headquarters and at our area office in Dallas is subject to change. You were handed a document, or a document was made available to you when you came in. And at the top it says Area Mail Processing AMD Feasibility Study. If you have that, you can see the data there. I'll go over the business case here at this point. Annual mail processing employee savings estimated at $2.9 million. Management savings, $981,000. Maintenance savings, $2.6 million. And the transportation savings at $681,000. The total for the AMD feasibility study, approximately $7.3 million. For postal employees, due to the consolidation, a net decrease of approximately 84 positions is projected. All bargaining unit employee reassignments will be made in accordance with the respective collective bargaining agreements. I'm not going to go any further than that. You can see, well, I will say this, I also have listed there some local customer considerations. Retail and other services currently available at Lafayette facility will not change at this time. So the retail options will still be there. Local business mail acceptance times may change as a result of the AMD. Collection box pickup times may change. A local postmark would be available for first-class mail. And delivery times of mail to residences and businesses will not change as a result of the AMD. The proposed consolidation would support a 2- to 3-day service standard for first-class mail. Now, this study that I have just shared with you is the first part of the study that we are currently doing. You may also know that we are studying in the state of New Orleans also for this same type of study. This particular one is for the outgoing process that I described to you earlier. Okay? We will also be looking at the feasibility of closing the plant entirely. That study has not been done yet, but it will definitely be one of the ones that we consider. In the case of New Orleans, we are doing the very same type of study. The area mail processing piece, the outgoing piece that I'm referring to, is the same for New Orleans as it is here in regard to the study itself. studying that operation. So I want to make clear what is possible, what could happen, because I get this question a lot from employees, and I get it from the community a lot. So what does it mean when you're talking to me about the kind of study to keep the Lafayette plant open entirely and close a part or all of New Orleans? We will look and see, is it more feasible for us to keep all of New Orleans open and close entirely the Lafayette plant? Those studies are going to run as a result. So I want to make sure everybody has an understanding of what we're talking about, the possibilities here. At this point, we're looking at every possible study that we can do involving New Orleans and Lafayette. So the data that I've shared with you, and the data that you have in your hand, is for the AMP portion, the outgoing portion of the Lafayette plant. As far as the next steps, we will complete our area and our headquarters review of the entire process. The public comments that are shared tonight, those of you who have concerns and wish to voice those concerns, those of you who have questions, we'll make sure that we capture that information tonight at the meeting. And so those public comments that you offer us tonight will be reviewed as a part of this official study. And network optimization studies will continue. We also offer tonight an opportunity for anyone who don't wish to talk, if you don't wish to speak, or if you want to write after you've spoken and something else comes to your mind and you want to make sure that you get on the record with your opinion and your concern. We'll provide the information for that. I can tell you now will be the additional comments you can mail to the manager, consumer, and industry contact at the Louisiana District. The address there is 701 Loyola Avenue, room 1101, New Orleans, 70113. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is to open the floor for comment, question, and we'll try to, the best we can, answer any questions that you guys might have. And I'd ask that you step to the microphone and ask that question.
All right, hell, I'll go first. How you doing today, Mr. Taylor? I would just like to know what were you guys? Oh, Joshua Montgomery, sir. Oh no, that's all right. I just wanted to know what were you guys' findings on the summary for the New Orleans facility?
The New Orleans facility is also posted on the website that we offer on this particular page that you probably already have seen the Lafayette.
Yes, sir.
Also on that same website, we have information for New Orleans on there that we've studied. There will be a community meeting and input meeting tomorrow at the City Hall in New Orleans, similar to this gathering.
All right, sir. Well, I did see the information on the website, and you guys were quoted of saying that somewhere around $4 million would be saved for the for the New Orleans facility, but Lafayette facility would be $7 million. Now, could you explain how New Orleans would be losing 120 of its personnel from the craft employment, but Lafayette would be losing 84, and yet that would save $7 million versus the $4 million in New Orleans?
The way that these are calculated, Josh, has to do with a standardized process. We go in, and this is a top-down type approach. So we go in and we plug in the figures. We look at the distance for the transportation that would be required. For example, the delivery area. Is there any difference in the delivery area that we'd be getting mail from and taking in? So one of the differences, I believe, I'm not positive, I think I might have, let me see if I can possibly. I'll try to answer your question as best I can. One of the differences, I believe, is probably transportation, the difference in transportation costs. But also, when we look at this, our mail volumes, equipment maintenance of the facility, the difference in the way that the equipment, the DDCSs and so on, are situated for processing. So it takes into account the before picture, what would have to happen during the change, the one-time startup costs, and then those changes thereafter.
Do you guys have a breakdown of how you came to the conclusions of those numbers?
The same information that I gave for this A&P study is available. It's broken down the very same way with the employee savings, management, maintenance, and transportation.
Okay, well, from the information I saw on our MPE watch station, New Orleans has somewhere around 30 DBCSs, 6 AFCs. Our facility only have 15 DBCSs and 3 AFCs. So how would maintenance have to account in the difference, such a large difference of $3 million between a larger facility like New Orleans and a very small facility by comparison in Lafayette?
I think it's a good question, but all I have to tell you is when we plug the data in to see the difference between the two, the difference in the specific line items, I don't know.
Okay, and another question about the 24-hour run process and if it had to take effect in Baton Rouge. Currently, we're receiving some of our mail back from Baton Rouge and some of the mail from Shreveport, which, by the way, Shreveport has a P&DF problem, according to Mr. Ron Greer, you guys' finance manager. Now, what's going on with Baton Rouge, if it runs for 24 hours a day, when will there be time on the tours to actually do maintenance on the machines? I currently work in a running tour, and you can't fully repair a machine if it's constantly running.
Yeah, the way the model is built is that between, I want to say, I can get close for it, between about 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. is when the maintenance window would be. Are you an employee?
Yes, sir. I'm currently a mechanic.
Okay. Well, you know we process mail and run DPS mail up to about 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Under this new concept, we start processing DPS mail about noon.
Okay. My last question, sir, would be the amount of time that you guys have probably taken this study into effect. As of September 14, I believe it was, that they decided to start studying our facility, New Orleans facility. Today being the 7th, that would only leave about 2 months and a week to have concluded the study and get to the public hearing phase. According to PO 408, the proper procedure for handling an AMP, from what I understand, looking at the timelines, were supposed to be 2 months for the study and 2 months to the buildup of the public meeting. So would you be able to indicate why the AMP study was expedited so fast?
Because of the condition that we're in.
Okay, so that's the reason behind, because other facilities, for example, like Minnesota, Florida, and Lima, Ohio, where the studies ended up being reversed, had taken about a year to a year and a half to have the studies, and yet even after the business case was made, it was overturned by the current district managers of those two facilities because the findings were incorrect after the OIG carried out their audits. So in that scenario, do you think the same might happen with this study?
I don't know. I mean, we would welcome that scrutiny from the OIG. There is a very good possibility that some studies will not be carried out. I mean, as we've gone through the studies, some of them as we've gone through have not been feasible to do. So it's very possible that some of them will not be done. Some of them have already been called off. Some of them have been reversed like you're talking about. That's the reason for the study, and that's the reason for the input.
Okay, the last one, the study was initiated by whom? Area, by Ms. Linda Welsh, or yourself, the district manager?
By headquarters.
By headquarters? All right, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Jeff, earlier in your
Yes, sir.
description of the study, I think if I wrote it verbatim, that the study supports the business case for consideration, but the pamphlets and information that says that it supports the business case for consideration. That's all I wanted. Play on words.
Yeah, there's support. It could be the consolidation that I'm talking about in this study is strictly AMD. In this study that I'm referring to, and in the paper addresses that I've given out. That's strictly an AMD feasibility, not full AMD, but 2 or 3, as you know, 2 or 3 AMD.
And I think the initial study revealed that you were more concerned of what was reviewed with the outgoing operations from Lafayette.
Yeah. Initially, it's outgoing operations, that's what this is looking at. But I also wanted to make sure everybody understood that the study itself, while this is AMP, we are also going to be studying the full closure of the plant as well, and the possibility of that both here and in New Orleans.
Okay, when will that be initiated, Jeff?
I don't really have a good answer for that. We're trying to finish this one up, but I just want to be transparent with everybody that it's a possibility.
Okay. And I spoke to you earlier about your notification notified us that possibly 84 positions will be impacted out of Lafayette. I spoke to you earlier about have that been broke down by craft. And I think so we don't have that information by craft.
I only know that it's 80 craft employees and 4 management employees.
All right, and not to be the dead horse, gentlemen before me, as part of Handbook 408, isn't there a time frame for this study, this phase of the study to be completed? And in respect to when you have the public meeting and your initial results have already been turned into headquarters in the area. Of course, all union officials have these PO 408, and we carefully follow the study as it relates to our craft employees. And if we find that the study went before the review sent to the headquarters of the area prior to the public meeting in conflict with 408, where are we at on that?
I believe that in this case, with regard to this study and with all the studies that we're currently doing, the community input meeting is a part of the process. It's a part of the process. And so you and I just may be on different pages from the standpoint of what you think is appropriate timeline and what we're doing. And you'll have your opportunity to express that.
Of course, and I appreciate that, Jeff. I know you know that this is not our first rodeo. Now, I'll get back with you into New Orleans tomorrow, head related to New Orleans.
Okay.
John Hornley-Shea, APWU Stewart, Lafayette. On the 84 employees, will they be taking some of the DPCSs to Baton Rouge? And if so, will that mean any type of remodeling or construction in the Baton Rouge area for these?
It's a possibility. It's a possibility, John.
Okay, then if it's going to save us money, why are we putting out money to remodel another building? To remodel the building to encompass what is here in Lafayette.
It's not a substantial amount of remodeling that would have to be done, if any. I'm not even sure that we have to do any remodeling.
Okay, my next question is, as we all know, Lafayette is the leading plant in Louisiana. During Rita, Katrina, I may refer to Lafayette as the old reliables, that we took over much of the duties of New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Lake Charles. And we are still doing the same thing. So please send that message to the people that are doing the studies that are sitting behind the desk and not coming to life yet.
I'll just say that I'm proud of the employees of Lafayette myself, so. You've got a friend here, that's for sure.
Hi, I'm Pamela Harkless, and I'm a Windsor clerk. And one of the things I heard you talking about the outgoing mail, and so I'm wondering if you're going to take a step back into the past and start having more breakdowns at our stations so that we could probably give a better service to our community and to our customers, where we would take and break down Lafayette and Lake Charles mail and keep it here and work it instead of sending it to Baton Rouge and then it have to be transported back here and then we break it down and send it where it needs to go. Is it possible that we make a step backwards in order to get things going forward?
It's a good point, and one that is especially applicable for outgoing priority volume that also designates back here. And we are looking at some of that. As far as the automation piece of this going, which really drives the biggest cost savings in this study, it makes sense for us to send it to pay to transport that volume into Baton Rouge so that it can be worked on equipment and put in DPS order, as you know, as opposed to carriers and clerks having to process that mail separately. So the question is something that we need to look at for sure with priority mail. But with automation volume, the model does not allow for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Nugent. I own a business called Shipping Etc. here in Lafayette, and I must admit I hadn't thought about the Katrina situation, but now that's been exposed. If that was to be repeated, it would be a severe breakdown to the postal system for this area. My question actually is an operational question concerning the postmark on first class mail. If it's mailed here in Lafayette, when will it actually be postmarked? Will it be postmarked that day or the next day?
That day.
That day. Okay, that takes care of it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Jay, I just got I want to read something that said, so this local services plan is under attack. And that's how we're feeling that the Postal Service are trying to create their financial woes, but it's highly publicized. We know they've got financial issues. But cutting services is not the way to go, Jeff. It's not the way to go. We ask that they don't cut the service. Instead of cutting service, the legislators need to fix the cause of the Postal Service financial difficulty. There was a law that was passed in 2006, the Postal Accountability Enhancement Act, that required the Postal Service to pay more than $5 billion annually over 10 years to pre-fund future retirement healthcare costs. Absent this pre-funding burden, with no other government or private enterprise has to bear, the Postal Service would have experienced a cumulative surplus of $611 billion in fiscal year 2007 to 2010. So when the Postal Service is saying that they lose $23 million a day, it's not for cutting services not the answer. Congress created this mess, let Congress fix this mess.
Rose Corbuchet, Lafayette Post Office Clerk. I don't know if they realize we have a 25-mile bridge, and you talk about transportation, bringing the mail back and forth. If they take that into consideration, if an accident happens, how long will the mail be delayed then? It depends. We've had a local accident a couple of weeks ago, and it took the mail, came in like 5 in the morning, and should have been there at 12 midnight.
I agree. I mean,
So it's going to delay everything else.
right, and that's a reality that we face here all the time with bridge issues. You know, we have them across the country, you know, that's a big bridge there too. Big point.
Hello, my name is Althea Shadrick, and I'm part of the community. I would like to know, is it possible to have the names and qualifications of the persons who are doing the study?
Are you talking about the people who actually put the study together, or are you talking about the people who are plugging in the numbers? I'll need to think about that.
That'll be released during the audit.
Those people that are doing it here locally are just, they're taking data and putting it into a spreadsheet. So I don't know what good it would do for you to know their names or their qualifications. They're long-term postal employees that have been doing this a long time. I mean, they know what they're doing, but it's just, since the study is a top-down approach out there, it's just a matter of what that spreadsheet says. You know, they plug it in, they plug the information in, they plug the volumes in, they plug the work hours and the capacities in and all that, the efficiencies and so on. And that's the way it's run. So I don't even know, I don't know who can tell you who they are, because I really don't know who did it and who built the model and headquarters. I don't know who that is.
It would still be a good thing to know their qualifications. Thank you.
It's a good point, thank you.
Jeff, the union was notified that the AMP coordinator is Gary DeBoer. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and that's for the Lafayette AMP and the New Orleans AMP?
Yes, but he has a lot of other people assisting him too, Steve.
Yes, but he is the AMP
He's
coordinator.
the AFP coordinator from Louisiana, yes.
And what is, Jeff, just for matter of information, what is the Postal Service's opinion on the 21st Century Postal Service Act 2011?
Which one are you talking about, Steve?
Where they want to take the money that were overpaid to FERS and make it a $25,000 incentive to employees to leave the service. I just want to know if you know what they want.
I don't know what the
opinion on that.
I don't know what the stance is on that.
Francis.
My name is Irving Domain. Some 25 years ago, I retired from the Postal Service here in Lafayette. I'm a former APW president, local president, state president, and national officer of the APW. When the Postal discontinuance of this, in other words, trying to cut down the Postal Service. My concern from what I hear, what I understood you say, you're going to bring down mail to 2- and 3-day service. In other words, a letter from my next door neighbor to me would take 2 or 3 days to get to me. What's going to happen, sir, is exactly what they've been talking for many years. The private industry is going to start picking up some of that stuff. Mail is going to go to privatization, and we're going to lose the mail. And the few letters that's going to be left, we are going to be through the nose to the postage to have it delivered. Utility bills are going to go out. Telephone bills, doctor's bills, that's all going to go out. My payment of these bills are going to cost very much to send the check. There's quite some concern. That's my concern. Like I said, I've been retired for 21 years, 25 years. I've had 41 years with the post office.
Well, thank you for your service and your comment.
Believe me, I am concerned about what's going on right here.
Sonia Henry, APW President Lafayette. You have said something about the DPS being you know, for the Baton Rouge Post Office, going, put more mail in GPS. But what I want to know is, Lafayette already have GPS for the carriers. The carriers already come back after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So if that mail is going to Baton Rouge, what time do you think the carrier is going to come back now? 9, 10 o'clock at night? Then you're going to have all kind of accidents and everything else, and then y'all talk about saving money. How much money the carrier is going to be making? Penalty overtime?
Exactly.
Because they can't get 5 o'clock, they might just be leaving the office.
Well, let me just comment on that part of it, because actually what would happen is, as I said, they'd start running the volume at noon. So that volume would actually be ready for the following day's delivery hours earlier and dispatched from the Baton Rouge plant into Lafayette earlier. So the mail would be here, actually be here earlier. That's the reason for the day delay.
Beverly Gallo, I want to just reinforce something Urban Gourmet just mentioned. I would like to know if we're doing a study right now, and we're so far in the study is stating that our first class meal will take a 2 to 3 day service standard time. Will we also, once this survey or this study is completed, will they supply us with information to let us know during the study how much revenue or how much mail volume we actually lost during this study? Because I think it's going to be very important for us to know whether or not that's feasible for us to do. You know, just put money out there, you know. So I'm just hoping through the study, if we can get information that will say, yes, we can go to a 2-3 days service and we won't lose any money or we won't lose any more customers. Because I really believe, like Mr. Domingue said, we're going to lose customers because here in Lafayette, they will get in their car at $3.70 a gallon, go across town and mail that letter themselves personally with that company, rather than put it in the mail for 44 cents with us and let it be 2-3 days before it gets, get to the destination.
Hello, my name is Dana Phillips. I'm just a citizen here. I don't know the process of the post office, but I have a few questions. One, my first question is, did they take into consideration those variables that where there are no numbers, like the effect that it'll have on this community to shut down services or shut the post office down totally? Did they take into consideration that you have a bunch of branches all over Lafayette? Did they consider maybe, okay, if we close Oil Center location, how much can we save? Because it's not that far from the Mott Street location. So that was one of my questions.
Let me take the first one. The first one was about, Dan, would you go back to, let me take the oil center example you gave. We also have running concurrently consolidation studies going on that are not related to plants. Okay, we have 51 offices that's been identified across the state that fit the model of what you're talking about, where the post office is too close to each other, where they don't earn revenue. This is not the only thing that we're doing to try to look for ways to increase efficiency. So yes, we are definitely taking that into consideration. What was the first question you asked?
If they took into consideration
The
those
effect on the
variables that
community.
don't have a number.
Yes, we are. We think that's part of this process tonight, and part of what we looked at with regard to the retail operation to make sure that we're still offering retail services in Lafayette.
Okay. Do you know where the next closest branch to this location would be for a passport? Because I know the Mott Street location.
It's the only one that processes
I
passports.
imagine Wall Street is probably the closest one here, Nick, is that right?
The only.
That offers passports? Who would it be, somebody?
Baton Rouge. No, Scott doesn't offer them anymore.
Okay.
Baton Rouge.
Okay, my last question. Lafayette
Real
provides
quick.
services, I'm not sure to how large an area, but we have many cities, I'm sure, around the area that use the Mott Street services. How would that be impacted as we continue to grow? Because Lafayette is growing tremendously, and especially the surrounding areas, for instance, Youngsville, Broussard, and those areas going south. So as the volume goes back up, would you consider reopening some of the services if you haven't shut down the plant, or if you shut down this demonstrative location, would you reopen it?
For the purposes of this study, we're only talking about the backroom operation from the standpoint of the customer. We're talking about the backroom type operation, the plant, the processing center. If the retail were to be included in the study, if we were to include it, say, you're saying that if that building, if we moved out of the Wall Street building entirely, right? Then we look for alternatives to make sure that we continue to meet the retail need of the community.
Okay, thank you.
Brandon Fontaine, Lafayette, P&DF. Just to start off, when you began, you separated the employees from the public. We're all customers also. We're not any different than anybody else. Y'all make money off of us, we make money off of them. It's all a big circle. So just to clarify that. Now, to the 62 miles, you say it's 62 miles from Lafayette to Baton Rouge. But I didn't hear you say it was 62 miles from Baton Rouge to Lafayette. Y'all saying, I mean, you talk about just New Orleans and Lafayette. I didn't hear you talk about Baton Rouge at all. They're not in no study?
Baton Rouge is 62 miles from, did I say New Orleans? I bet Baton Rouge.
It's 62 from here to Baton Rouge.
Back and forth.
Like, they already are ace in the hole where, because they're the capital, that they're not even considered to be moved. Their performance is pathetic, but they're safe. All the people in Lafayette work, for certain numbers, and Baton Rouge kept putting pressure on us, and meaning by that is almost every month we'll get a crew from Baton Rouge that comes over and tells us that we're doing things wrong, which they have no business telling us what to do, period. If anybody's going to tell us what to do in Lafayette, it should be our own supervisor. Well, all of a sudden, we got to do what they say. Now, this is the same plant that's a failure. So, all of a sudden, our numbers start going down. Well, this looks like a sabotage on the Lafayette plant where we've been fixed at for the last few years to try and destroy us. And I think they got real ticked off because we kept meeting everything that we had to. Coming from Baton Rouge is a problem over there. Why don't we move them to Lafayette and let them deal with it?
I'll take a couple of questions. I'm not going to debate with you about the difference in Lafayette and Baton Rouge with regard to efficiency. The employees there would probably challenge you on that themselves.
We're third in the Southwest area.
But I will tell you this, the Lafayette facility would not accommodate the volume out of Baton Rouge.
We could enlarge our own building. We're going to enlarge theirs, but
No, they're not going to enlarge.
well, I've been at their plant last year. They don't have room for anything that we have. So they're going to have to enlarge it. But also, we don't have to talk about how good we are. Because evidently it's supposed to be about the service that you're putting out that the customers get their mail. If our numbers are better, that means they're getting their mail on time. If your numbers are worse, that means, gee, where's your mail going? But on saving money issues, are y'all doing studies on management, how many grievances a year y'all owe money to the employees for working mail and who's pocketing money and all the studies on stuff like that? We never hear about those. It's always just about the plans, the people that do the work. That's all we hear. I'd like a list too of whoever's doing the study. Is it like a paper they send us in the mail, that little envelope where it goes to some third party and they go over it, or is it actually the post office? The study.
The study itself?
Yeah.
It goes to review at Dallas and then to headquarters.
Good evening. My name is Delbert Guillory. I came with an open mind to hear what you had to say. I was interested in the quality of service, speed of service, number of jobs that could be lost here. And from all those ways of looking at your presentation, I want you to know that we are not impressed and we will resist.
Wallace Senegal, concerned citizen and frequent shopper at the Mott Street Post Office. I know a lot of the clerks in here, and from what I'm gathering, my mail's gonna go out late. And sometimes I mail my mail late. That same day. It seems like if they got to go to back real quick, it would really be late.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Kind of tough act to follow, Brother Watt. But that was good evening, Mr. Taylor. My name is Brandon Show, and I'm a councilman here in Lafayette City Parish, with the Lafayette City Parish Council. I came here to read a resolution, which I think you guys should have already received at your office. The council, sometime last week on a Tuesday, approved 9-0 in support of all these people here in retaining the Mott Street facility. Because, number one, the folks in here, as you said before, are the greatest asset of the Postal Service. They're on the... You clap that. But they're also the greatest asset to Lafayette's economy as well. These folks pay sales taxes. They pay property taxes. They cut their hair at beauty salons, barbershops. They send their kids to public schools and private schools. They shop at our local grocery stores. So they provide a large economic boost and a large economic impact to Lafayette's economy. So that's why I'm here representing City Parish Council to say that we stand behind these people in here, and we want to provide any resources that we have as a government to make sure that we can help retain this facility. Now that was my political head. Now as a customer, it'll be hard for me to continue using the United Postal Service if you guys want to move this out of Lafayette. All right. I'm a customer. I see people every day that are pretty much customers to you guys. And the only way that I know that the Postal Service will continue to make money is by your customers. And your customers, even though they may not have a lot of them in here, the majority of people in here are employees. But once the customers get a whiff of what's going on with their prized possession, and that Mott Street facility is a great asset here. It provides... You know, it's not only a postal service, but it's also like a little watering hole where people can get around and just talk politics when they're going to check their post office box sometimes. but nevertheless, your customers in Lafayette Parish, I can tell you, are not happy about this. We want to continue to support the United States Postal Service, but we need the Postal Service to make sure that this meeting tonight, Mr. Taylor, is not a dog and pony show. We want to make sure that you guys are really definitely going to consider the input of the employees and your customers as well. Yeah. So with that being said, I want to read this resolution and present it to you as well as a form from our city parish council to say that, like I said before, Mr. Taylor, we stand behind these people because they are our greatest asset in the parish of Lafayette. And it reads, it's a resolution of the Lafayette City Parish Council requesting that the U.S. Postal Services retain the current services it provides at the Mott Street location. Be it resolved by the Lafayette City Parish Council that whereas correspondence has been received from the local postmaster advising that the Louisiana District Office has completed its review of the area mail processing feasibility study. And whereas this review has submitted to the Southwest Area Office for consideration, and whereas should the feasibility study be implemented, there would be a significant loss of jobs. Whereas this job loss would have a detrimental effect on the community served by this post office. And whereas Lafayette is the fastest growing and most progressive city in the state of Louisiana, let me digress for a minute. We're also the 4th largest city in the state of Louisiana. It behooves me to think that the Postal Service would want to remove such a significant part of the 4th largest city's economy.
Amen.
Whereas Lafayette is considered to be the hub of Southwest Louisiana and area municipalities, neighboring parishes look to the leadership of this community. And whereas shutting down some mail processing operations at the Lafayette facility and transferring those functions to Baton Rouge will cause delays in delivery of mail service to Lafayette and the surrounding areas. And whereas the location of this facility serves as the community anchor and is one of the most are adopted as part of this resolution, the Lafayette City Parish Council hereby requests that the United States Postal Service makes no changes to the services provided by the Marsh Street Station. The Lafayette City Parish Council further requests that the area mail processing unit be retained in Lafayette and not transferred to Baton Rouge. Section 4. Citizens are urged to attend a public hearing on November 7th at the 5th Missionary Center and encourage the Postal Service to retain all of the current services in Lafayette. And all these resolutions, parts thereof, in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. This resolution having been submitted to a vote, and the results were as follows. It was unanimous vote. It was a unanimous vote, and we hope that you consider keeping it here. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. God bless everyone.
Is it the Postal Service position that the decision to close this facility hasn't been made yet?
Right.
Okay. So based on that decision that hasn't been made, so this study that was done in record-breaking time, and this study was the fastest study I've seen. And since I've been doing these AMP studies, one in Alexander, Lake Charles, and Monroe that they've done. So I guess my question I'm asking now, is the Postal Service trying to assure this public they're saying that the service won't be cut?
The service will be changed as I indicated.
And how is that? I'm sorry.
The overnight mail that currently is dropped in Lafayette and surrounding area will no longer be overnight delivery, but 2 days.
And so, 3 days. So how does that affect? I said we had that large mail here. We had the large mail. So how did you tell the people that the large mailers, that want the large mail, how does that bring the mail to Baton Rouge, gonna help their business? Because you just stating that now that their service is gonna get delayed by 2 days when they've been in 1 day service or 2 day service. So I'm sure y'all want to know how they're gonna affect y'all sitting there to Baton Rouge.
I met earlier today with mailers too. We had a separate meeting with mailers to go over the information.
Okay.
I was glad to answer those questions with the mailer.
Sir, just in reference to the comment you made earlier, here I have the performance reports and statistics of the 3 relative plants that's being considered in this entire process. Just from the comment you made earlier about Baton Rouge having a greater volume than us, Baton Rouge currently ran year over year, ending today, 46 million, approximately 46 million mail pieces, as our Lafayette facility had ran about 53 million mail pieces. Now, we currently run a greater volume of mail with skeleton crews, and not to mention being understaffed in maintenance and at our window personnel. And you're explaining to us that Baton Rouge is going to be able to handle double the volume that they currently can instead of sending the mail to us from Baton Rouge, where we're logistically sit better at between 49 and I-10. Now, the question is, dealing with this is, we already received mail that we currently sent off to Baton Rouge back. So how would you guys be able to come to the conclusion that Baton Rouge can handle over double the mail volume than they currently have? We're number 3 in the Southwest area. They're number 21. We're number 1 in the district. They're number 2. And just for those from New Orleans mail volume is approximately 100 million mail pieces. So closing them and consolidating all that mail into Baton Rouge seems unfeasible.
You're looking at the total mail pieces
Yes, sir.
and FXP.
The entire, all the mail pieces that went through on the year-over-year through our AFC units that's originating in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Through the AFCS
Yes, sir. That's not including bulk mail either.
for the whole year.
Yes, sir. Would you like copies of these reports after the meeting? Okay. There's a plug and play form. I got a copy of the form. A matrix.
It's the same answer as I've been given, but I want to make one point about what you said. And I know these meetings are difficult for everybody. And I know there's a lot of high emotions because it affects people's lives. And I'm fully aware of that. That's the part that bothers me about it the most. It's cold, y'all. You know, I know I have a responsibility to do the best that I can.
Trying to keep myself from getting
Try
angry.
to do the things that we need to do to make the postal service solid and make sure that we are assured paychecks in the future. And that's really what we're down to at this point. We have to face the facts. Is it better for us to be inconvenienced, all of us, substantially so, in some cases, or not be paid? And that's what's facing me. And not be paid anything, ma'am. So we have got to figure a way. And these things are hard. I know they're hard. But we've got to figure something out.
My name is Alvin Smith. I'm a transplant here from the Lake Charles office. I've been relocated here just 10 months ago, about to possibly be relocated again, may I have at the Lafayette P&DF. I've got a couple of things that have happened that I think may be private. You offered about the 52 miles, 62 miles between Lafayette and Baton Rouge. And it's been brought up a couple of times about the network of bridges. But when I look back at Hurricanes Rita and Katrina, you know, the 29th of August, Katrina hit, and the 25th of September, Rita hit. This is 1 month apart almost. That set back the whole coastal community across I-10 for almost 9 months. They opened up Port Allen and all this other different stuff that we were set back for quite a while. Working mail from every different, and I'm sure Lafayette took on the front of a lot of stuff. But anyway, that's a problem. I don't think anybody's really considered. Also, you're talking about closing a part of the plant or all of the plant at Beaumont, moving that mail to North Houston. So we're looking at the distance between Baton Rouge, if this office closes, and Baton Rouge and Houston. I mean, we're going to have a long road down I-10. There's no real coverage as to what the mail is going to be doing and how everybody's going to get their mail on time. Having moved here from Lake Charles, I find that when I go back, people are asking me, where's my mail? They get the mail at 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. You know, the carrier's still out there. So I don't know how that's going to affect Lafayette once they start, you know, moving this office if they do or whatever. But that's something that needs to be considered. Logistics is another problem that, having moved here, we have right here at the Moss Street office, empty equipment out in the parking lot, filling up the parking space. We don't have anywhere to get rid of this equipment. We can't get trucks to get the equipment out. So we're talking about Baton Rouge having their mail in our office right now because, you know, they can't handle it, or they're relocating, or they're re-outfitting their machines or whatever to accommodate this change, and then we have to put our trash in the yard. If we have a storm tonight or tomorrow, that might be all air mail, city mail. It's been about 10 months that I've been here, and I can't see where logistically this whole move from Lake Charles, and I'm not frustrated about it, but from Lake Charles to move here, we're doing the same thing here that we were doing there, and less effectively, if you ask me. Because We're not getting the mail. The mail's coming in from Baton Rouge to this office here, arriving at 4:45 for a 4:30 dispatch. And this is the honest truth. We're getting a tractor trailer loaded down at one at 4:25 and the other one at 4:45 for a 4:30 dispatch. So we're not being affected by this whole move from Lake Charles to here. So if it moves any further, you got to go all the way back to the Texas border to Maryville, Singers, and Quincy, and all those kinds of places that are along the Texas border, along the Sabine. And to quote you from the Lake Charles Town Hall meeting, we got 300 miles from Lafayette, from Texas to Mississippi, so that covers all of Louisiana across there. But I'm scared that these continuous moves will play into one of your managers telling us when we were in Lake Charles, their whole plan to allow for the post office to get their budget all in order is to relocate you until they frustrate you. That was her exact word. We will relocate you until we frustrate you. And if we can't frustrate you, then we'll work the hell out of you. So, I mean, I'm seeing this verbatim, basically now. So that's all I want to say, that they need to take a look at all of these different moves and make sure that when they move like this, let it take effect or let it clear up before they move something else. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, let me, thank you for your comments. And I apologize if you had a female supervisor that told you such a thing as that. That's not the thing to do, nor do I feel that way. So that's I apologize for her for that. That's inappropriate. So okay, one more.
Hi, my name is Valerie Marks, and I go to the post office. I'm not a postal worker. I go there every day. I work as a dispatcher, and I'm a state employee for 30 years, over 30 years.
Thank you, Ms.
So,
Marks. We appreciate
in other
you.
words, what I'm trying to say is, we deal with the post office every day. But like Bobby Jindal, we got a lot of cuts we have to do too. But he's getting the higher man instead of the little man to work the process. We have to do the work, so he laid off the higher people that's not doing the work to get the work done. So the work still have to get done, because we need the post office here for the process. I deliver mail every day over there that needs to get out the next day. If you got something going to Baton Rouge, it's not fair to the citizens of Lafayette to have my mail go to Baton Rouge that needs to be there, and they're not gonna get it till 2 or 3 days later. It's not fair. So, like they're saying, we may end up using some other facility in order to get it there, or drive it ourselves. If you close the post office, because we need it. So maybe like Bobby Jindal, like he's doing, because the higher man let them deal with work. We just have to work. Stand one more.
We have two. How you doing? I'm Gerald Follow. I have a question. The plant they closed in Lake Charles. The employees found a job yet or what?
Yes. I don't know if I've got maybe a couple that are still over there that we've yet to replace.
So the rest of them are sitting in a room, right? And not getting paid.
I think
getting paid or they sitting in a room.
I think most of them have been placed. Ted, is that not correct? Most of them have been placed. Yes, your members?
Lake Charles? No. Not those. It's a good bit. They still got, I would say, about half that has not been placed yet.
And they still sitting in a room getting paid?
Yeah, I'll stand by.
And that's been, what, 9 months?
Yep. A year.
And then they want to go to Lafayette, just like they said, I know I've been most of the meetings, but actually the post office actually made money. They made, what, 600 million the last 2 years, something like that?
The Postal Service would have made money had we not had to pre-fund the retirement health.
Speaking of the pre-fund health care, the reason why we're paying that is because the Postal has to pay $75 million within 10 years. Now, we paying for people that's not even born yet, or even working for the post office. So why are we paying that money? And I mean, it's $5.5 billion we pay a year. It's breaking us. That's where all the money going in. I say you keep everything like it is, and that's one thing I do. Have Congress fix that. Just give us our money back, and the post office is gonna fix itself. Right now, we panicking for no reason.
Well, we're working with Congress trying to get that done. We have people, Postmaster General's been working hard to get that done.
And so is our union been working hard. We're
Yes, you
trying to
have.
do the same thing.
Yes, you have.
That's all we want to do is get the post office back on track.
Thank you. All right, y'all, this is our last question. Thank you.
Mr. Pierre, question, comment. Well, look, my name is Ronnie Peeler. I represent Energy Station. I used to work at the Marsh Street Post Office for many, many years. I want to say this to Mr. Jeff and your crew, that, you usually pass out surveys, and one of the surveys is entitled Customer Satisfaction. I think a lot of people represent customer satisfaction because we are the post office of business, but we got to satisfy the customer. And think about it. Satisfying the customer means listening to what they say tonight. Also, we are customers as well. You may have a word, but God has the last word. May God bless you.
I really appreciate you coming out, and we've captured, I think, quite a bit of the concerns, and we will definitely take them back. I appreciate your conduct. Thank you for that, and for the questions. The mailer, I'd like to speak with you afterwards, and if there's any other mailers that need to speak with me, I'll be glad to talk with you as well. So, but again, thank you very much for your time tonight. Please be careful.